he wouldn't appoint them.
I'm not being fair with that. You're not being fair with that response. She asked you a very simple question, yes or no. Look at the appointees. Do you believe DEI had anything to do with those appointees? Do you believe they were qualified? Do you think they would protect and defend the Constitution that represents all of the people of the United States of America?
I think Mark Rubio.
I think you all have literally no idea how the government works, is what I
do.
Welcome back. Thanks for watching. I'm Dronetek, and today we're going to go through this absolutely insane clip from CNN last night, which just perfectly exemplifies what is wrong in the Democrat Party right now, and why John Fetterman just said yesterday in an interview that he thinks the Democrat Party might have lost white men permanently. Like, there's no way Democrats can win them back at this point. And you're going to see that perfectly demonstrated in this clip, where 3 of the black women on this panel are just openly racially hostile, not just towards Scott Jennings, who's supposed to be their friend and their coworker, and he even extends an olive branch to them, which they just slap aside in favor of conspiracy theories and racial grievance. You just have to see it for yourself, so let's go ahead and do that.
If race is not the issue, then why is DEI mentioned every single day as a solution to every single problem that faces this?
Because of how pervasive it is,
and
how hateful it is to an actual conservative ideological view.
But do you think it is true that all of America's ills, from the plane crash to whatever it is, wildfires, due to DEI for real?
I think that...
Okay, so the reason that people suggest that DEI might play a role in the things that she just listed is because the leadership in those places, like the fire department in LA, put such a heavy focus on DEI and getting people hired, that not necessarily for their skill, but for their intrinsic qualities. But then we find out that the FAA is currently being sued for racially discriminating against white people and Asians. So that's why people suspect that in those cases, DEI might have something to do with it.
If you believe in the fundamental principle of America, which is that we guarantee everybody an equal chance, not an equal outcome, but an equal chance, then trying to go around that principle, conservatives don't believe in it. And most people who believe in America don't believe in it, number one. Number two.
Especially when it comes to very important positions like air traffic controllers and fire chiefs that can actually save people from a burning building. And don't just tell them, oh, well, if your husband gets stuck in a fire, well, he shouldn't have gotten himself into that position in the first place. That's exactly what Scott Jennings is talking about here. But these women, I don't know, they're supposedly super brilliant, but it's like they can't grasp this simple concept.
The concept of not hiring the best person for the job in government or anywhere else has been repeatedly rejected by the American people, the Supreme Court, and everything else. And so
So I guess what I'm saying is, like, if that is the case, then people are questioning the actual qualifications of many people Donald Trump hired for jobs.
Yeah.
So do you think that he actually...
Why?
Because Elon Musk doesn't even go here.
Do you think that he...
That's why.
This is the question people are asking.
Elon Musk is a brilliant person who has made amazing projects happen over and over. Projects that are actually bettering humanity. I don't understand what these people have against that sort of thing. Like, he made Starlink. He made Starship and the Falcon 9 rocket, these rockets that are reusable and can land. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
This is the question that Ryan Clark just asked. Did Donald Trump, for Health and Human Services, find the person with the best expertise to address
this is not a
when it comes to the Department of Defense, did he find the person with the best expertise to address those issues, or did he just find people who he liked?
Political appointees have one qualification. They serve at the pleasure of the president because the president believes that person's going to best carry out their agenda. That is the only qualification.
And to protect and defend the Constitution.
And that is the only. That's the only qualification for a political appointee.
Competency doesn't matter.
Of course, they're.
Of course,
he believes they're competent.
And just worth pointing out that none of these people, Abby Phillips, none of these women ever raised any of these concerns when it came to Joe Biden. In fact, they all took part in a big lie to deceive the country about his mental faculties and his cognitive decline. because they were helping to cover whoever was actually running the show at the time. And so never forget that.
If he didn't believe they were competent, he wouldn't appoint them.
You're not being fair with that. You're not being fair with that response. She asked you a very simple question, yes or no. Look at the appointees. Do you believe DEI had anything to do with those appointees? Do you believe they were qualified? Do you think they would protect and defend the Constitution that represents all of the people of the United States of America?
I think Mark Rubio.
I think you all have literally no idea how the government works, is what I have.
Seriously.
I do. I served in it at a higher level than anyone here.
A couple people at this table have served in the government.
Yeah, me too.
Including for this former president.
What is this panel, by the way? I mean, look, I have no problem, honestly. I don't hate any group of, but 3 of these black ladies on this panel against him, one guy, doesn't seem very fair, and it's not very representative of the country. I mean, I believe black women are like 6% of the country.
I just want to say that I think the premise that DEI exists and therefore the people that got the opportunity, perhaps because of DEI, are not qualified is a flawed premise.
Correct.
And I think that is what is so frustrating about the argument around DEI.
If they were qualified and they had the skill to get the job in the first place, then why do you need DEI? And what is DEI? DEI is just a flowery, kind of rose-colored glasses way of saying racial discrimination. If you've got 2 applicants and maybe the white applicant is more qualified, has got a better resume, maybe they've got higher test scores. If you got to choose between the 2, the black woman or the non-white person is going to be the more desirable hire.
We know in this country historically, and even today, there are still injustices in this country based on race, based on gender, based on ideology.
Right, DEI is a racial injustice, but they think it's different when they do it.
Who your daddy played
golf with, yes.
Okay, that happens every single day.
It is human nature. It is human. Every single, and we're the best at it. We're the best at trying to
Donald Trump's our president.
Arthur, I guess that's exactly my point.
She seems
I
unhinged.
agree with you. I think that it is true that there have been preferences not for merit since the dawn of time, and that in this country right now, the same people who are going after DEI, which is about giving opportunities to people who have been historically marginalized.
It's about giving opportunities based on racial preferences and denying opportunities based on the undesirableness of the other skin color, which happens to be white people and Asians.
Are just as willing to hire their friends.
Is that what equity means? Giving opportunity or guaranteeing outcomes?
No, it's giving access.
Because that's what equity means.
It's
a difference. There's a difference between equality and equity.
No, it's giving access.
I just want to answer his question because I think
Wouldn't
this
talent
is super,
and hard work
Scott,
give you
I think this
access?
is incredibly important for you to understand and for everybody to understand at home, okay? This is where I think we go crossways on this issue. You just asked the question, what does equity mean? Does it mean equality or does it mean access to opportunities? And conservatives want to define it a particular way, but you have to acknowledge, I'm asking you to acknowledge.
They're not, it has a definition. Equity and equality are different. And people like Abby Phillips have been trying to blur those lines for the last few years. I've been talking about it.
That people who believe in DEI do not define it that way. They do not define it as equality.
I think they define it as trying to guarantee outcomes, and I think they define it as trying to punish people they don't like.
Scott, that's
wrong race, wrong gender.
Speaking for more of the middle of the country who's not hyper-partisan on this issue, I think that people generally think diversity is a virtue. It makes businesses better. It makes institutions better.
If it makes institutions better, then why is the NBA, the NFL a majority black? There's no push to make either of those things more inclusive of other races. Get some Asian people in there and some more white people. It's mostly black, but there seems to be no issue with that. And in fact, when you look at the NFL and the NBA, what do they always push for? They want it to be more black because the coaches, there's not enough black coaches. So like in the areas where you might have had some white people still in there, they're pushing them out.
But they also don't like when you have companies or organizations that are spending huge amounts of money to stand up DEI office. As an example, Fairfax County Public Schools, $400,000 spent on a DEI office, but kids are not reading at the levels that they should. They're not advancing at the levels that they should. It's not the issue
But were
of
they
diversity.
doing that before the office was stood up?
Well, no, and probably not. And so I'm not saying the connection.
So maybe implementing DEI might actually help people have a better
but it's not an argument
education.
against.
What are you talking about? Oh yeah, implementing DEI, getting more people who are unqualified into positions of teaching. It's going to make the fact that they're not learning how to read and do math, that's going to make it better somehow. What is she talking about? And the point, even though I can't stand Griffin, Alyssa Farah Griffin here, and her trying to play the moderate here, the point is that they're spending this money and it's not having a return, that it's not fixing things. And so this lady, she's about to go off about how brilliant she is, how educated she is. But I think what it really shows is that you can have a bunch of education and still be stupid.
DEI, it's how much of our resources are we actually putting?
But that's not what that's not the way
just...
the conversation is being posed in America today. The conversation about DEI and woke and all of that sounds about marginalized Black and brown people who already are threatened seem to be threatened in this community, in this society, and they're not getting the same opportunities. It was the same thing with affirmative action. Went to UCLA, they got rid of affirmative action. Everyone said you got in because of affirmative action. When I graduated, affirmative action didn't take my test. Affirmative action didn't help me get to where I'm at today. It gave me access that I didn't have based on the opportunity that I lacked because of the circumstances I was born into, which had nothing to do with me, but the country in which we live in.
She has a problem with marginalization unless it's marginalizing white people or marginalizing Asians. That's fine.
The reality is...
Have you seen the test scores of UCLA Medical, by the way?
My point being, Scott, is that everyone doesn't have the same access. People like to hire their friends. They like to hire the people that they like to be around.
Do you think they like to hire the
also
best people for the job?
But I also think around the idea of diversity.
No, Donald Trump hired all of his friends. But I want to go back to people that are in his cabinet right now. You know, because you are a smart man. I know you know this.
Why don't you understand how political appointments work? I don't understand.
It's not about, but this is because yes, the president gets to pick whoever he wants, and the Senate is now for the Republicans. And I would have hoped that some of them would have been had more profiles and courage, but they didn't, and they actually put people in that I do believe in your party you have more qualified people who could be in that cabinet. I'd like to think that, but that's not what they chose.
Secretary of
Defense. Not what they chose. So go for it, okay? I think the issue in this country right now is we live in different realities.
That's right.
I live in a reality.
Right. She lives in a reality that's completely like it is outside of reality. We live in reality. She lives outside of it.
Reality where I know I do not have the same opportunity as you. I know I don't. And I know what, Scott?
I got it.
And you know that.
Let me just tell you about me.
She's literally on the show. What is she talking about? She's on a show where there's two other Black women just like her who are all wrong, but are all very, very sure of themselves.
I'm gonna let you finish, but I want to answer this.
I'm not talking about how you feel. I'm talking about how I feel. Me, a Black woman in this country.
But not in this city.
And I will run. And if you want me
I'm a New Yorker, not in this city. You
the
cannot say that. You
I
can't
will
say that in this city. I'm
not talking about New York. I'm talking about Ashley
let her finish.
right here.
Let her finish.
I got a law degree, a master's, and 2 bachelors. Probably more education than all of y'all added up together at this table, right?
Yeah, and you look, the other ones over there dancing like an idiot. They sound so stupid, but she's so sure that she's right. She's wrong. And I think anybody here probably agrees that while we want everybody to have equal opportunity, I don't want to do it at the expense of another group. We can't like give certain skin colors preference because that automatically makes another skin color undesirable, and that's the problem.
And I have always been the least paid person on payroll at every institution I have worked in. And it's not
Even in the White House?
Even in the White House.
Well, whose fault is that? I don't think he worked for George W. or Trump.
Well, guess wasn't what happened when I was there? DEI.
Scott.
Look.
Wow. I mean, it's so childish. This woman's supposed to, she's talking about how professional she is. Look how she's acting like she's ready to fight. Abby Phillips. The only reason she has this show at this point is because of Scott Jennings, because of a white guy. Nobody's watching for Abby Phillips.
Look,
You're my friend. I respect you tremendously. I think you're probably the smartest operative in the Democratic Party, and they should listen to you more. That's number one. Number two, you and I share a comparable background. We're both from the Midwest. We both come from middle-class families, lower middle-class families maybe. I actually think we share a lot of similarities in our journey. But I think you made it, and you are the most respected voice often at every room or every table you're in, not because of anything other than your talent and your work ethic. And that's all anybody ever is asking for, is for people with talent and work ethic to make it. And that's what I see in you. That's how I see you.
But let me tell you something about my story and my family's story, is that we have faced discrimination. I have faced discrimination. I just said.
She just said she supports discrimination. So, like, I don't care at this point. Like, if you're going to support discrimination now, don't complain to me that you were once discriminated against.
I was the least paid person, even in this moment sometimes, to my counterparts. It is just the reality of the country we live in. And I'm not saying, I do believe I'm qualified. I know I'm qualified. You won't ever tell me I'm not qualified.
Then why does she need DEI? If she's qualified, then why does she need to racially discriminate against a white applicant going for the same job she is?
But the system that I live in doesn't matter about my qualifications.
I don't agree, because
when 2025.
Oh, come
I don't think
on.
we're there in
Come
2025.
on.
You can't don't
That's just not true. That's just not true.
There is a mountain of evidence that suggests that you are wrong. Okay.
Oh, okay. Abby Phillips, if you say anything she doesn't like, there's no evidence. She's like, there's no evidence, even when there is. But if you disagree with her here, oh, she's got a mountain of evidence. She doesn't listen to you, but she's got a mountain of evidence. You're wrong.
I'm a New Yorker, so I'm jaded. I am the Attorney General is a black woman. The mayor's a black man. The head of the Senate is a black person.
Okay, New York is a small representation.
Well, small. New York is not that small.
America.
Politics. Let me talk about
every judge I appear before is either a woman or a person of color.
Ashley just gave an anecdote, but the numbers also show black women are one of the most educated demographics in this country.
Are you sure about that?
In reality, the percentage of Asian women with 4-year degrees is 57%, with white women being at 50% and black women being at 38%.
Also show black women are one of the most educated demographics in this country and one of the least paid. Why would that make any sense?
Why would that make
Not
any
even true.
sense? And don't talk to me about the judges you stand before. Talk to
Why?
me about the theory.
Hold on.
Talk to me about the
But
world
it also-
in which we live in and
Let's
the
look at
system
the
that
United
we live
States
in.
Supreme Court. How could you say we're not going to look at that from the top to the bottom?
Nothing
I'm
will
about
ever
the
be.
legal
Okay, New
system
York is a more
that I live in.
progressive
And we
All
just got a black woman.
Hold up.
We just got a black woman on the
Okay, but you had a black man from
you brought
the
up
70s.
You brought up the Supreme
Or
Court.
the 60s.
One.
Did you know, Arthur, that there are many...
Hold on. What percentage of it does it represent the United States of America?
Why
So why does it matter?
Why
So we gotta go by numbers.
Oh, finally, suddenly it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The fact that they want over-representation, right?
There is something that says to me that you know what she's saying is true. You think she's smart. You know that she's smart. She's more educated than mostly everyone at this table.
I mean, that's so crap. And she doesn't get it.
And so what she's saying isn't a lie. What she's saying is a real life experience. And so why is it so hard to understand why something like diversity, equity, inclusion needs to be a part of what we do in a system that never even acknowledged a group of people, never saw us as a human commodity, just literally never noticed who we were. And now here we are years later asking for some simple rights.
She's acting like chattel slavery was like last week or something.
And she knows that that is not the case because she is a black woman.
She had a high-ranking position in the
Hey,
White House of
dear
the United
friend,
States of America.
Dear friend,
she
there
is one of
are-
the most celebrated political operatives in the
let's talk
country.
about, there's a,
Do you know how
Exactly.
hard I had to
Do you
work
know-
to get that?
Do you know
We
how
all
hard?
have
Do
to
you
work hard.
know
You know
how hard
how
the son of a
to get through
garbage
law
man had to
school?
work at?
Oh, she had to work hard for it, everyone. You had to work hard to get to the White House. Are you... Everybody has to work hard to get to these levels. What she is basically saying here is that if you're white and you got to these positions, it was just handed to you because you're white. It's completely crazy. She's her friend, the guy who's just said he's her friend. She just dismissed all of his accomplishments, all of his hard work that happened because he's white. So she had to work hard, but other people, white people, do not have to work hard. So, I mean, that's just straight up racist. That's just making everything that she says here is an assumption based on her biases against white people. That's all it is.
So I'm just telling you,
I'm not saying that, but
talent and work
We're
ethic
not
are
saying,
everything.
we're
And that's
not,
why I think
it's
you're
not
here.
true. It's just not true. It's just not true.
That's all I have for right now, but let me know what you think in the comments. And if you're still here, might as well hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks a lot.